Hello, my dear friends, and welcome to Dr.Monkey, where we laugh together and cry together, but hopefully take something away to treat each other a little better. Here's some interesting stories. One about OP's own mother, who hurt OP with a knife because OP didn't give her money for her birthday. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I hope you'll enjoy it. Story 1. When I was first married, money wasn't that easy to come by. I had a form of leukemia that took up most of our money. Due to this, we can't just spend money like we wanted to. God bless my husband for being such a sweetheart. We were only in our early 20s and he still pushed through this for us. December 23rd is my mother's birthday. She's an awful person. She tried to get me pregnant at 14 because she wanted more money from the state. As this was 20 years ago, we really didn't have the same type of cell phones we have today. So I didn't know until I got home from treatment that my mom had called me multiple times. 3 minutes later, I counted. She shows up at the door. She asks for her money. Both of us are confused, of course. She wants her birthday money, which I've never given to her before. She wanted $608, that exact amount. When I told her no, we can't afford that, she lost it, screaming at me, calling me terrible, cruel names. She gave birth to me, so I should do what she says. And then I say, I'm an adult, and I don't have to listen. I was angry and tired, and I just threw up a few minutes ago. This set her off. She grabbed a kitchen knife and ran at me. While my husband is trying to hold her back, she stabbed me right between 2 ribs, but didn't pierce any organ, thank God. I don't know what happened in my husband's mind, but he snapped. He broke her arm backwards in rage, while screaming something I don't even think was human language. He called the police and she was arrested while I was taken to the hospital. Even more bills to pay, but surprisingly, that was taken care of by Domestic Violence Victims Foundation. She got 7 years in prison. I moved out and moved to Louisiana. This morning I got a call from my sister that she passed away last night. How she did? I don't know. Don't care. She took her entitlement and almost killed her own daughter because of it. What a witch! I'm so sorry for your loss. Not that your mother passed, but that you didn't have a good mother in the first place. I'm sure you know blood doesn't make family. Love does. I hope you're handling the news well. Story 2. So, for context, my niece is 3 on Friday and is having a party on Saturday. My sister-in-law's been planning her birthdays every year. Sister-in-law also buys the niece expensive things that never get played with or worn. When niece turned 1, she went all out on a photographer and smash cake. My niece was pretty miserable and kept crying the whole time, which in my opinion was very over the top. But that's my opinion. She complained my father-in-law went to a family funeral. His niece, it was like a daughter to him, and not his granddaughter's first birthday party, even though he has agoraphobia. We always get a gift for her, but this year I have my hands full. Although whatever I give my niece she never wears or plays with. I have a son that's 1.5 and a daughter that's 12 weeks old. I was also in the mother and baby unit for 2 weeks recently from my mental health, so getting her a gift was gone on the back burner. Also, with me not working, my husband's paycheck covers essential items and sometimes going clothes shopping for our kids, which is rare in itself. Today, sister-in-law messaged me asking me if we are going to niece's birthday party. I told her no, as my 2 kids and husband have COVID, which I told her about Monday. Sister-in-law said she understood about them having COVID. She then messaged me saying niece's gift is awesome and she's excited about it. I asked her what gift because I genuinely didn't have anything for my niece. She was talking about the interactive table that's for my son for Christmas. I told her that's for my son, which my mother bought from Costco, which I had paid my mom back for. She told my in-laws, which have told me to give it to my niece because Christmas is far away and I can just get another one and stop causing drama within the family, which I refused to do. Edit. My mom went to a town with better shops than where we live. She got my niece 5 books and a beach towel because she does swimming lessons. Oh, my mother got it all plus card and wrapping paper for $23. Also, sister-in-law is my husband's brother's partner of 10 years. My mother doesn't even like my sister-in-law because she can be quite unintentionally harassing, constantly messaging you and tries to invite herself to stuff. I wrapped it up and gave it to a niece as her birthday today. She absolutely loved her books and towel, wanting her dad to read them straight away. She even had to cover her cousin, my youngest, with a towel, trying to use it as a blanket because baby's cold, although we are currently very close to summer, so it's hotter days. They want her to have one, they can buy her one. Stop contact with her. No more answering since she twists things anyways. She's manipulative. If your in-laws want to side with her, they can be on a timeout too for a while. You do not need the added stress from them. Frankly, they don't deserve your attention until they can behave properly. No apology for the blame game, no contact till they do. Story 3. I let my father and his wife live for free in years in my house that I inherited from my grandfather. I lived somewhere else. He had to follow one rule to live in the house, not to touch my room or my grandfather's office. I paid everything except for their food and entertainment. After living there for 7 years, he thought he was the owner of the house. A few weeks ago, he let his stepdaughter move in without consulting me. There was an empty room for her, but he wanted to give her my room. He had the courtesy to call me and tell me to get my things out of my room so she could move in there. I refused and told him she could use the empty room, but I guess that wasn't enough. I went to the house only to find that he had changed the locks and was not going to let me in unless I agreed to what he wanted. Long story short, I kicked them out. Lawyer and police involved. I thought my father's misdeeds were over as the house was the last thing that was keeping our relationship alive, but I was wrong. We hadn't heard from him until a few days ago when he showed up at the house. I wasn't there, but my girlfriend was. My girlfriend told me that my father was there to tell us that since we are now living in the house, we have to host them for the Christmas holidays. Not only that, he gave her a list of the food they wanted and the gifts they expected to receive. My girlfriend told him to go away before she called the police. I again thought it was over, but I was wrong. Again. Yesterday we received another visit from him. Apparently he called my mother to invite her to spend the holidays with us. She blew him off and told him she will take us, girlfriend and I, to Europe for New Year's Eve. He had the audacity to demand she take them too. My mother just hung up. Mind you, this was the first time they had spoken after divorcing 18 years ago. He came to the house to demand I convince my mother to take him too, or that we pay for them to go with us. At this point, his attitude stopped being disappointing and turned comical. My girlfriend and I just laughed at him. We laughed so hard we didn't notice when he left. I can say that we didn't have the best relationship, but he wasn't entitled. It was already clear why my grandfather, his father, was completely disappointed in him. But it seems that he wants to take it to a whole new level. I don't know if he will stop, but I hope he does for the rest of this year. Edit. I have a security system. There are cameras everywhere. I know if he is there. I have other properties, my tenants and people close to girlfriend and me. Even my neighbors know what to do if my father approached them in my name. I doubt he will try to break in when we're not here. When I evicted them, my lawyer and the police were more than clear that he could face serious problems if he tries to enter the house or any other of my properties. Unfortunately, in my country, any kind of restraining order is pretty much useless. It is more helpful to call the police right then and there when he knows I have no problem calling them. You will need to make sure you have an excellent security system that covers the entire house inside and out. Make sure it informs you of anyone coming near, even if you're in Europe, just in case he decides the house is really his and tries to either move in or show up and take what he can. You need to shut him down now, and hard, before it gets worse. Story 4. My fiancé and my family have always been a bit rocky from when we first started dating, because I came from an upper-class family and she didn't. That doesn't matter to me, of course. I'm engaged, and over the moon in love with this woman. Anywho, We are planning on having the wedding next year. Just finished our first semester in film school and got approved for an internship this summer. We moved out of state for school and have been there for about 2 years. During that time, we've had some money troubles trying to make it on our own. So we were heading back down to see our family for the holidays, and we made a point to set up dinner so our dads could meet with us and talk about the wedding, and later on come up with a budget to get us out of some of the debt we'd accrued trying to get our ducks in a row before we get married. It sounds pretty straightforward. So we get into town and go to dinner. My dad, my fiance's dad, my mother's fiance, and me, and my fiance are all there. Her dad and my fiance and I are expecting a conversation about a wedding budget. First thing out of my parents' mouths is that we should cancel the wedding altogether. Keep in mind, this is a full year from now, and we are done with school and in our new jobs. They want the wedding called off to focus on us being more responsible with our money, and they haven't even looked over our budget yet, so they don't even know the bills we have to pay. Her dad, who had already paid for the venue, was completely taken back by all this and is hearing it from people he has never met before. My fiancé and I completely got ticked because we had planned to come down to see the venue, thinking we could all go together after getting the money sorted out. Then my dad said in addition to canceling the wedding, we should give up on school. He never approved of it from the get-go, and moved back in with him. My mom chimed in saying that if we were having money troubles and needed their help, we weren't really living on our own at all, and to cut back on the costs, we should sell our pets. Now my fiancé has some issues when it comes to controlling her feelings. So basically went off on my parents saying how it's not right for them to do this to us, and it's wrong for my dad to put me down all the time in regards to school, which I completely agree with. My dad immediately went on a rant saying how disrespectful we are, even though he started it all by saying we should cancel the wedding. He already agreed to pay for parts of the wedding before all of this. The only thing we asked him to do was cover the catering for 70 people we invited after he said he wanted to pitch in. At dinner, he said he wasn't going to throw $20,000 out the window. We only asked my dad for $3,000 after he said he wanted to contribute. He's a successful surgeon, so for him, $3,000 isn't all that much. Her dad was contributing $5,000, and we didn't ask him to do anything. At this point, dinner was a flop. Both my parents just straight up left. I thought things would cool, but it gets worse. The next day, after meeting with my mom and exchanging presents, acting like dinner never happened, which was odd, my dad called. He canceled Christmas at his house, said he wanted to grab coffee, just me and him. I thought he wanted to exchange presents and talk things out. I thought to myself, alright, he was ticked and has had time to cool off now, and he wants to go over the details. So I asked him if I could bring my fiancé's dad so they could have a do-over. He said no. I asked him if I could bring a general budget of our finances so we could go over it and I could get some advice man to man. He said no. So he pulls up in his Porsche to come pick me up from my fiancé's dad's house. Doesn't even get out to say hello. I got in the car and instead of driving out to the coffee, we drive to my mom's house. Okay, so now it's both my parents. No big deal. I go in and it's my entire family. They set up a intervention to get me to leave my fiancé in another state. They said I could stay with them. They could drain all the bank accounts I have with her, and I could start over. They accused her of stealing cash from their house. They said she was abusive. They said I have to find someone better back home. They wanted me to walk away from everything we were trying to accomplish. I could quit school there and go into a more successful occupation. I could go back to my old job, which actually pays less than what I'm making now, and start classes for an online bachelor's degree instead of going to a trade school. I said no. They said they are cutting me off as their son and are not coming to the wedding. I said fine, I'm heading back home. Her dad offered to help us with the whole wedding and our money struggles. What idiot of parents! If they're gonna act like that, I'd watch it with them as they may try to sabotage your wedding. 'Cause if I were you, I'd have things set up to where even if they try, they can't without your consent or knowledge. Keep that in mind as a precaution. Story 5. So all this happened about 2 years ago, but it's one of the many crappy things my mom and her stepfather did that I have visual proof of. It was Valentine's Day, and one thing about my mom is that she is very flashy during the holidays. We're talking crap tons of expensive gifts, parties, and house covered in decorations. All of that can be fine, but every time I received a gift from her, it was metaphorically held over my head. I didn't do something correctly. I am ungrateful and a horrible child that could never deserve their gifts, and must be constantly reminded of that. That Valentine's Day, my mom gathered us in the living room to open our gifts from her. More than just chocolate or a card, but actual gifts. If it weren't for the pink heart decorations, you would have thought it was Christmas. Then my mom whips out this book she custom ordered. It was supposed to be a children's picture book about our family that the little ones could read as they got older. The problem was that I was nowhere in that book. I wasn't on the cover, I wasn't on any of the pages, and I especially wasn't on the front page where my siblings' names were clearly listed. Her only excuse was that I was being represented by the company's mascot, which appeared throughout the book. Onto the page it says verbatim, "Happy Valentine's Day for my beautiful children, yada yada and yada. We love you with all our hearts. We cannot wait to see what God has planned for your life. Love, Mommy and Daddy, 2021. Names are censored for privacy." You don't say it, but I'm assuming you're your mom's child by a previous relationship, and the 3 younger ones are your stepfather's children with your mother? So the book is all about the wonderful family she and stepfather have together, and you are just the unfortunate reminder that she had a life before she met him. I am so sorry. Well guys, that's all for today. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing, and if you missed the last episode on the channel, I'm going to link it right here. The story's about OP's entitled mother-in-law who threw OP's family heirloom engagement ring down a storm drain. Check this out if you haven't, and I'll see you next time on Dr. Monkey.